What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your second stimulus check update. And we've had some really good news from the Problem Solvers Caucus that has announced another stimulus check and another unemployment extension update. I'm going to give you some more details about that in this video and also an unemployment extension update, what is going on with that. But first, if you haven't yet, click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on second stimulus check updates. My wife and I do all the research for you every single day so we can bring you all the information in a quick, concise video. And don't forget to smash the like button for us down below. It really helps out our channel. Okay, if you haven't caught either of my last videos, the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is a group of both Democrats and Republicans from the House of Representatives, has released a new bill proposal, which includes a second stimulus check, an unemployment extension, and money for the PPP program for small businesses. In total, as you can see here, this bill is between 1.5 and $2 trillion. There's a couple provisions on it which may make it worth more or less. And there's actually provisions in this for a second and a third stimulus checks. Yes, a second and a third stimulus check and a second and a third unemployment extension, one at the end of this year and one next year. I'm going to give you guys all the details of that here in just a second. In this bill, the highlights are $100 billion for testing and healthcare, a $316 billion for direct assistance to individuals and families. That is your stimulus checks. I'm going to go over that here in just a second. $120 billion for an extension of the unemployment. $290 billion for small businesses and nonprofit support. That is another round of PPP money, Paycheck Protection Program money. $145 billion for school and childcare. $500 billion for state and local governments, which is basically to keep the Democrats happy so that the Democrats will want to vote for this bill. Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the Democrats, wants about $950 billion, almost $1 trillion through state and local bailout money. So this will probably make them happy because the Republicans were willing only to give $150 billion. Election support, $400 million. This is actually supposed to, that's a typo there. It's actually $400 million. I will show you here on this other screen of their actual bill. So $400 million for election aid. It's funny how I know more details than anybody else. But yeah, that's actually $400 million on election support. $52 billion for broadband, agriculture, and the United States Postal Service, which the Democrats want money for the Postal Service, so that's another sweetener for the Postal Service. Another sweetener for the Democrats to make the Democrats happy. Worker and liability protection, that's mostly a sweetener for the Republicans. That's a big thing that the Republicans have wanted, so this kind of makes both parties happy. And boosters and reducers, which can increase or decrease the cost of this bill depending on how long into next year this pandemic goes on. And that is the part of this bill that will determine if you not only get a second stimulus check, but a third stimulus check also, and another round of unemployment extension all the way into 2021 this time around. I'll give you those details here in just a second. Here we are in the actual bill. I read through this whole entire bill yesterday. You can catch my previous video before this one if you want to watch that. But I'm just going to go over to the highlights here that actually pertain to most Americans. So $100 billion for testing and healthcare, $316 billion for support and individual families. So this is where we start to get into stuff that will affect you. Because of the virus, fixed costs for individuals and families are often exceeding the ability to pay for food, rent, loans, and other necessities. This bill would include 15% more WIC money, which is women, infants, and children, with 15% more plus up through March of 2021. That would provide $1 billion for that. 15% more SNAP money, which is money for food for people in need. So 15% more all the way through July of 2021 next year. $10 billion for that. A second stimulus check of $1,200 and $500 per child and for dependent adults. And it has in here retroactive also, which we don't know the details on yet. This would be $280 billion. Now, the most common questions I've had from you guys: will Social Security, SSDI, railroad veterans, will they receive this? And the way it looks worded is yes, you would receive this, especially if you receive the first stimulus check. I think that they're going to use the exact same wording as the first stimulus check. So if you qualified for the first stimulus check, you would receive this one. Now, the one difference is dependents and child care. So the dependents, they're now including adult dependents this time around. So basically, if you're an adult and you're on somebody else's tax return as a dependent, this time around you should receive a check if they can pass this bill in its current wording. So a lot of college students didn't receive a check last time, and a lot of adult dependents that are claimed on somebody else's tax returns didn't receive a check last time. This time you would receive $500 checks. And the thing about child support, the first stimulus check, if you owed child support, you didn't receive your check. We've been hearing some back and forth about this, and there a lot of lawmakers want you to get a stimulus check this time if you didn't receive it last time because it went to child support. We don't know the details of that yet. I will keep you guys updated and informed as more information about this comes out. Also, we have money for rental assistance for the most needy and other rent stabilization programs or eviction moratorium through January 2021, $25 billion. We don't know exactly how this is going to work yet, but you honestly might receive another stimulus check if you're in need or you're hurting to pay your rent or mortgage. The government might actually give you another stimulus check to help you pay your rent or mortgage. So from this one, you could receive two, but then you also could receive another stimulus check. I'll get to that here in a minute. So you could receive two stimulus checks, $1,200 now, $1,200 next year, which I'll give you the details on in a second when I get to that part. And you also could receive a stimulus check for rent. If you're behind on rent or you're having a trouble paying rent or your mortgage, you actually might receive a check through this rental assistance program. So you might actually receive three different checks, and that's not even including if you're on unemployment. If you're on unemployment, you get even more checks. So let me get through the rest of this detail here so I can explain it to you. Also included in this provision is student loan forbearance through December 2020. December 31st, 2020. Next up is more unemployment assistance. So we have $450 per week unemployment boost money or unemployment extension money for an 8-week transition period. So for 2 months, you would receive $450 per week because you lost your job from this pandemic, followed by up to $600 per week and up to but not exceeding 100% of your previous wage. So that would be a total of 13 weeks more unemployment from mid-October 2020 through January of 2021. So this is really good news for anybody who has lost their job during this pandemic. This would provide you 13 more weeks of unemployment to the tune of several $1,000s to help you out before you can find another job. And another round of money for small businesses through the Paycheck Protection Program, $290 billion. Basically, if you own a small business and you got a loan from the first Paycheck Protection Program or you didn't qualify, you might be able to get a second loan. These are forgivable loans with simplified forgiveness. As long as you spend the money correctly, basically on your pay to protect the paychecks of your employees, you can get this entire loan forgiven and not have to pay it back. So there's likely going to be a second round of this also. Next up, we have $145 billion for schools and childcare, $500 billion for state and local aid, which is what the Democrats want. This is basically to get Democrats' support so that they will, vote for and pass this bill. $400 million for election aid, $52 billion for the post office, broadband in underserved communities, and agriculture. worker and liability protections for the Republicans. And then here's where we get to some more of the interesting information. This has a clause in here which is for automatic boosters or reducers where they can spend more money or less money based on how long this pandemic goes. So, for example, and this includes a provision where there's an automatic 3-month unemployment insurance enhancement in February 2021 if warranted based on metrics of how the pandemic and the virus is doing, which would provide 120 billion more dollars for another 3-month extension of unemployment insurance in February 2021. And an automatic stimulus check in March of 2021 if warranted based on metrics again. So that's another $280 billion. So that would be a third stimulus check based on how we're doing in March 2021 with the virus and the pandemic and with jobs and unemployment and all that stuff. So we actually could receive another round of unemployment extension and a third stimulus check in March 2021 if we still have this virus and this pandemic going on then. And here's the total cost for this program. It's between 1.5 trillion and $2 trillion, just so you guys can see this. Honestly, this bill was the absolute pretty much best thing we could have hoped for. I mean, maybe we could have hoped for the $2,000 per month stimulus checks, but those have kind of been off the table for a while. We might see a revitalization of that if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win the presidency, because Kamala Harris is the one who wants those $2,000 per month checks. So if they win, then we might see that brought back to the table. But basically all we were hearing is we wanted another round of $1,200 stimulus checks. This bill has not only a second round of stimulus checks, but a third round of stimulus checks if the virus and the pandemic keeps going on into next year, which it probably will. And also checks for all dependents this time around. So basically adult dependents, people that missed out on stimulus checks from the first time around. We actually could receive 2 more stimulus checks from this bill and 2 more rounds of an unemployment extension update. That's about as good of news as we could have gotten. You guys can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, I want to update you guys with this chart on how the unemployment money is going from the president's presidential executive order. You can see a lot of states are paid and a lot of states have depleted their money. We're only going to probably see 6 weeks at most. As you can see, a lot of these states are 6 weeks and have depleted their money. We're mostly going to see 6 weeks at most for each of these states. A lot of these states have paid out some money, but not all 6. Some states are still payment pending, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen with each state. Each state's different depending on how far along in the process they are. But I assume that some of these states are actually going to pay you for an entire 6 weeks all at once. So you're going to get either $1,800 or $2,400 all in one shot based on how much the state pays you. Most of these states are paying $300 per week, but as you can see here, states like Kansas and Kentucky are both paying $400 per week. So you actually might receive $2,400 all in one shot. This column right here shows the estimated pay date if your state has not paid out yet, and then how many weeks have been paid here in this column too. Let me scroll down so you can see these bottom states here also. But you can see that most states are paid, and anybody that's payment pending, a lot of them have dates here now of when we're expecting to receive the payments for those states. If there's no date yet, you might know more information about your state. Let our viewers know down below what state you're from and when you expect the payments to be paid, what you have heard maybe on your local news station about what is going on with that. But I would assume that most states should be paid here within the next 7 days or so. Again, this money came from the presidential executive order, and that money has run out, and they need to pass a more permanent extension to the end of the year or into next year of the unemployment benefits, which is exactly what this bill from the Problem Solvers Caucus did. So you guys can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I think that this is probably the best news we could have gotten this week. Short of them actually like sending it out today. But if they can get this bill, approved by both the House and the Senate in a quick, timely manner, we could receive the checks in as early as the next 7 to 10 days. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin has said in the past that as soon as they approve a bill, that he can get checks sent out within 7 days. It'll be faster this time around, and that basically the people that get direct deposits will receive their checks first because they don't have to print checks or mail them. So people will start receiving their checks within 7 days as soon as they approve a bill. So make sure you guys have clicked the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on new update videos coming out. You can click the bell icon next to the subscribe after you've subscribed if you want to be notified when we go live. We typically have videos going live at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you updated as soon as new information and new details come out. And don't forget to hit the like button or the thumbs up button for us down below if you haven't yet. You can click on these videos to watch my newest stimulus check videos next. And this video teaches you how to start a business selling products on Amazon FBA. I have students that have replaced their entire 9 to 5 income, and I teach them how to do that. Click on one of those videos to watch them next. Thanks, and I will see you in the next video.